There is this...
Okay. What else? It works for both the groups. Yeah. But that emotion doesn't play the same on both sides equally. It's what I'm saying. There's a slight bias on one side or the other. I'm just telling you.
This research paper that has been on my mind for years. It shows that there is a particular type of problem where the smarter you are, the more likely you are to get it wrong. So I asked my American friend Wiley to go out on the street and ask people the questions from the study to see if we could replicate its findings. The first question in the paper is about a fictitious study on skin cream. So in this made-up study, people with skin rashes are assigned to either the experimental group, where they use a new cream for 2 weeks, or the control group, where they use no cream for that same period. And at the end, they count up how many rashes improved and how many got worse in each treatment group. The results are summarized in this table. So the question study participants were asked was,
did the skin cream make the rash better?
Hold on. Rash improved. Well, who were the groups? Experimental controls of no cream, and that's cream.
Count up how many rashes improved. Table.
So people that use the cream, 20 people got better, 70 got worse. No cream, 100% people got better. Okay? Well, 20%. 20% got worse. This one is 35%.
So the question study participants were asked was,
did the skin cream make the rash better, or did it make it worse?
It made it worse.
The question is a little tricky because it requires proportional reasoning.
I think better.
Better? So what are you looking at, just real quick?
I'll be honest, I'm just looking at how big the numbers are.
If you just look for the biggest number, well, that is the group who used the skin cream and the rash improved.
So this number is bigger than this number? Yeah.
So you might conclude that the cream worked. It makes rashes better. That is the intuitive answer. But if you look more carefully at the data...
So I won. Wait, so Chad said I was stupid, but I got it right.
...and use proportional reasoning, you realize that in the experimental cream group, about 3 times as many people got better as got worse. But in the control group, around 5 times as many people got better than worse. So using no cream, your rash was significantly more likely to
That's what I
improve.
said!
In fact, it's
That's
a fair
what I
conclusion
said!
to say that the
That's
cream,
what I
on
said!
average, made rashes worse. The lead author on this study was Dan Kahan.
I'm studying the science of science communication.
He and colleagues recruited a nationally diverse sample of 1,111 Americans to participate. But before answering the question on skin cream, each participant was asked a series of questions to assess their numeracy.
A numeracy, it's not so much the capacity to use complicated mathematics, but really to reason well about quantitative information.
Numeracy scores for the entire sample were roughly normally distributed. Now, if you group together all the participants with a certain numeracy score, say group all the zeros together, all the ones together, all the twos, and so on.
Bell curve, yeah.
Well, what fraction of each group do you think got the skin cream question right? Well, the results are exactly what you'd expect.
Oh, this is math.
It's math.
In a fifth of the people, which is a smaller number, the rash worsened, so the skin cream didn't help.
So it didn't make it better?
I feel like the cream, if anything, made it worse.
The higher the numeracy score, the greater the fraction of participants who got the answer right.
Yeah, I don't think the numbers mean anything to me. Because I think I would need to know what's the rash and what's the cream you're giving me.
Those with better numeracy skills managed to avoid...
I said percent? Brother, 20% is 5. Okay? 30% is 3. You understand how that works? The percentage it's a ratio it is still the same.
Politically correct answer.
What are the proportions?
Had nobody get into the numbers like this. This is great. Excellent. You got that right.
If I said 20%, the way you get from 20 to 100 is 5. The video said it here, 3 and 5. And I said 30%, 3. How do you get to 10? 3, kind of.
And correctly determine that the cream actually made rashes worse, which is no big surprise. But this version of the skin cream question was only shown to some of the participants. Another subset saw the same exact table, except the column headings were reversed. So in this case, the skin cream did make the rashes better. So how did the different numeracy groups do with this version? Well, again, the highest numeracy groups were the most likely to get the correct answer. But below a numeracy score of 5, the results were pretty flat. That could be because even without any numerical reasoning, most people might expect a skin cream to improve a rash, which just happens to be the right answer in this case. But the true purpose of the study was not to find out how numeracy affects our ability to reason accurately with data. No, it was to figure out if something else affects our reasoning ability. Specifically, politics.
Huh?
If you look at the skin cream data again, but separate the participants by their self-reported political affiliations, so liberal Democrats versus conservative Republicans, there's basically no difference between the groups. All follow the same pattern irrespective of party. Which makes sense, because a study on skin cream is about as apolitical as it gets. But what the researchers did with the other half of the participants was the opposite. Instead of skin cream, they presented a fictitious study on gun control. In case you don't know, Democrats generally believe that gun control reduces crime, whereas Republicans believe it increases crime because it takes guns out of the hands of good guys who could prevent or deter crime. So, in their made-up study, cities were divided into 2 groups. Those that had recently enacted legislation making it illegal to carry a concealed handgun, and similar cities that had no such legislation. Over the following year, crime rates were monitored to see where crime increased and where it decreased. The results are summarized in the table. Again, no surprise, it's exactly the same as the skin cream example. Of course, there were 2 variations, one where gun control decreased crime and one where it increased crime.
But their bias makes them
brick the
brick
results by political leaning, they paint a very different picture.
It's kind of obvious. If you have guns in the city, people are going to start shooting people. And, you know, if you don't have guns and you outlaw them, cities are obviously going to have less crime in them. But the thing is like, you can't just take people's guns away and say that they're illegal, you know? Like, that's just... It's kind of like drugs.
So wait, but these numbers though, how did you just come to that conclusion?
When Republicans are shown the table where the correct answer is gun control laws increase crime, then the accuracy improves with increasing numeracy, just as before. But for the Republicans who are shown the table where gun control decreases crime, well, numeracy skills no longer affect accuracy. Those with a numeracy score of 7 or 8 are barely more likely to answer correctly than those with a score of 0 or 1.
So where the crime improved, like there can be crimes that were prevented because the guns were legal, and the crimes that were worsened, that could have been other crimes like not related to guns, you know?
And the same is true in reverse for Democrats. The more numerate people in this sample have no problem recognizing the correct answer when it shows that gun control reduced crime. But if the data showed that gun control increased crime, then all of a sudden, numeracy didn't help. Remember, this is the exact same data and question as the skin cream example. The only difference is now that data is presented in a political context. And the biggest difference in performance is among the most numerate people. They're scoring a lot worse than they should have.
The low numeracy people are about 25 percentage points less likely to get the right answer if that answer is threatening to their ideology than if it's consistent with their ideology. The people who are high in numeracy, on the other hand, 45 percentage points less likely to get the right answer.
Rather than using their mathematical ability to come to the correct conclusion, they somehow selectively apply it to justify the conclusion they already believed beforehand.
Oh yeah, classic.
Illegal crime.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have thought that.
That as numeracy increases, people are more divided about the efficacy or the risks of gun.
How much risk do you believe government restrictions on private gun ownership pose to human health, safety, and prosperity? Extreme risk, between moderate and high.
Control regulation. The same thing with fracking. And same thing with global warming. We see the polarization conditional on numeracy. But we also see the same effect when we measure
it's not libtards or megatards. It indicates a political bias. That's what it is. It's both sides.
In other ways.
Depending on the topic.
In science literacy, more polarized than the people who are low. The people who are high in actively open-minded thinking, you see more polarization, not less, as they become more proficient in this kind of thinking.
Based on this data, of course, I'd want to look into it and look at all the sources. And of course, there are sources from sources because people are always citing each other.
So the numbers are actually not real whatsoever.
It looks, but if I were to look at this pragmatically, I would just say that the playing field seems pretty even here.
Pretty even?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Now, everyone wants to believe that they are rational, that they could change their beliefs in light of the evidence.
I try to.
If you encounter evidence on a political issue that you were like, this is good evidence, I've done my research, but it contradicted your political belief on that issue, how would you react to that?
How is that Kappa? How is that Kappa?
At least be open to learning.
Yeah.
If it's on paper and that's the way it is, I would have to go with that.
I'm gonna have to deal with it. I can't be like, well, I feel like it's different.
All I see here are people who will continue to hold partisan beliefs regardless of the evidence, all the while deluding themselves into thinking they came to these beliefs via an independent, sober consideration of the facts. The truth is that mostly we believe what we believe to fit in with our tribe.
Well,
and that, in the most important way, is highly rational.
See?
Because humans are very social creatures, and for most of our evolution, we've depended.
This is the classic. This is the classic. The sky is gonna fall on our heads or whatever, and the mountain thing or whatever.
On each other for survival.
The allegory of the cavern
from the group is almost as bad as walking off a cliff. If we question the status quo by rejecting what those around us accept as true, we jeopardize our place in society.
Man, I've learned that people are
guys,
not as dissimilar.
The cavern. It's like everybody said it, guys. If you were born in a spot, everybody said it. Listen, if you go above the mountain, you fall off the edge and you fall off the earth. The earth is a plaque. If you go above the mountain, you fall off the edge immediately, right? Well, that becomes very cemented belief. It becomes very rigid, okay? And you're not very likely to go against it if everybody around you in your system is your people.
That there is so many similarities between sides that we think share nothing in common.
I attended Zoom meetings in the opposite party, and it was kind of scary because they sounded just like my side.
It makes you think about what we could get done if we didn't have that burden. And I think it would be a pretty different world and pretty extraordinary if we managed to figure that out.
So what do we do about this? Well, I don't think there is an easy solution, but Kahan has identified a few
This is cognitive dissonance.
One is avoiding partisan rhetoric. Rather than talk about gun control or climate change, avoid the loaded terms and instead focus on specific local policies. No buzzwords that could trigger anyone into tribal thinking, no villainizing the other side, just constructive solutions that make sense given the data. One example comes from Southeast Florida, where a bipartisan group of lawmakers have joined together to take action on sea level rise. The plans don't debate whether climate change is man-made or not, they just deal with existing challenges faced by residents. The other thing is to foster a curious mindset.
Maybe the science-curious people, they're more willing to examine all the evidence, including information that's inconsistent with their political ideology.
With increasing science comprehension.
So what happened with Elon Musk then? Did he do the fucking Squidward thing? Brain in garbage? I keep telling you this, you guys. I don't understand it. Did he do the brain in the garbage? Okay, that's what happened then. Let's forget it then.
Usually
he did brain in the garbage.
Increasing polarization on political topics. But with increasing science curiosity, this same increase in polarization is not observed. That is a start. I am not going to claim to have the solution. Problems of this sort are likely as old as the human species itself. They are just much more obvious now that everyone can post, tweet, comment, and basically...
The guy's a degenerate, brother. Yes, I posted in the comment the other day. There's a post about a controller, right? Because Walls was playing a controller game on stream, on Twitch or whatever. And it was like, oh, his controller was not even on. And it's literally on. It is literally... And then he retweets and he comments and he says, interesting or so bogus. And you're like, dude, you could have taken like 8 seconds of research, like actual 8 seconds of research, and you would have disproven what you were about. It's so stupid.
Shout loudly into this nearly infinite digital space. The only thing I hope to do is bring some awareness. The beliefs of most people are not formed by a careful consideration of the data. That includes me, and it probably includes you. Acknowledging this is an important first step. One organization that is trying to tackle polarization and our information echo chambers is Ground News. So we specifically asked them to sponsor this video because they gather news sources from around the world in one spot.
Cool.
2.3x baby.